It's the end of August and a good time for a fall garden tour, or see what's happening in the gardens as we're starting to change over from summer gardens to the winter gardens. These three raised beds here are primary gardens. This one, the first one here, I've kind of put fallow for the winter. It's mulched with comfrey leaves, and it'll set idle now for the winter months because we don't need it for fall crops. The end of the bed has some lettuce in it. That's black-seeded Simpson, and radishes. There's some romaine lettuce and some carrot seeds coming up in there. The next bed over is full of peppers. We have bell peppers here on the end, and those have really been producing this year. You can see some really nice peppers in here, and we've been picking a bunch of them every day, and can't seem to keep up with the production of them. Next to that is some banana peppers. They've also been heavily producing all year, and there's still more to be harvested on here. In addition, next to that is jalapeno peppers, and you can see that there's a few on here that are ready to pick. I just made a nice batch of jalapeno poppers from some of these, but I didn't even make a dent in the number that's on there. Next to that's the spinach. This is the last of this bed. The spinach, the lettuce that was in here has all been taken out, and spinach is still remaining. Next to it is our zucchini squash, and unfortunately one of them was taken over by the squash vine borer, and we've lost that squash, but it still has some fruit on it which needs to be harvested. And there's a pretty good size zucchini in here that's ready to be picked. This plant next to it is doing very well. It's also got a number of zucchinis on it, and they're ready to go. On the back side, this is a U-shaped bed, which I still have mixed feelings about. It's handy, but I really don't think I'd ever have another one. This is our dinosaur kale, or lacinato kale, and there's 3 plants there, and it's hard to believe that much kale has come up from those 3 plants. These are our tomato cages, and I have to back up a little because they're 8 feet tall, and they're absolutely full of tomatoes, but they've produced so much that we can't keep up with them. There's one of the rhubarb plants. That's a Canada Red Rhubarb, and that's a Victoria Rhubarb, and another Victoria Rhubarb, and on the end is a Glaskin's Perpetual Rhubarb. On the back side of the kale is our Swiss chard. This is what's known as bright lights. It's yellow and white primarily on the stems. And here's some basil growing down here. We always plant basil on the corner of the beds to have with our tomato products. There's a couple more dinosaur kale plants. The tomato cages again. This one on the end is Golden Jubilee, and there's quite a few tomatoes in it. Some of them are about ready to be picked again. They're very large beefsteak tomatoes, but they're yellow and acid-free, which is really delicious. Here's another Golden Jubilee there. In this bed, or in this frame, is Black Beauty tomatoes. They're about finished. They're not producing any more fruit. Just what's on it is all we will get. But I'll back up again, give an idea of these tomato cages. As I said, they're 8 feet tall, and they are totally full of tomatoes, and it's been a very, very productive year for them. So that's our main garden beds up here. Here's a couple of new rhubarb plants that I've started from seed. They're both Glaskin's Perpetual, and I'm hoping that they'll be ready to make it through the winter. So I'll walk out to the north garden beds. This is an idea of what's up here by the house, and we'll start it again out there. On the way out to the North Garden beds, we'll walk by the composters. This is a new compost bin that was built this year, and it's beginning to get filled up already. And our 2 compost tumblers that Jora JK270s. They're really nice composters because they're insulated, so I can use them year round. This bush on the fence is an autumn olive. It's just beginning to bloom, but it has literally taken over the entire fence, and it's going to have to be pruned back this year. This round cylinder that it's on here is where I store my leaves for the fall to make leaf mulch, and this autumn olive decided to take over my compost bin. Down along the bottom of the fence, which may not be very visible in the video, is new comfrey plants that I started this year. These are started from root cuttings, and hopefully to get a good crop of additional comfrey. The other comfrey back in the corner fence there was all cut down to mulch that bed I showed earlier. These are our north beds here. These 2 bushes in front are gooseberry bushes. They're called poor man gooseberry. It's been a battle getting gooseberries. The coons like them even better than I do. This bed, there's a few young carrots and a couple bush cucumbers. I've never raised bush cucumbers before, but these I did not realize were bush when I bought the seed. I thought they were regular cucumbers. So they've been producing very well, though. On the end is the remainder of our spring onions, which still haven't been totally used. They're all bunching onions, so they don't form bulbs. They just stay as bunching. On the arbor here, which we're on the outside of, on the inside of the arbor, you can see the blue lake pole beans are starting to climb and take over the arbor, and it won't be long we'll be picking beans from them. They're starting to bloom now. And on the bed next to the beans is the carrots, which we've been pulling and using. And on the end of that is leeks, which make excellent leek soup. And again, you can see the blue lake pole beans climbing up over the arbor. This is our winter squash. This is the one on the end is cushaw, and in the middle is a red Curie, and the ones on this end are butternuts, and they are full of squash. If you look in here, you can see 2 butternut squash in there. There's another butternut squash hiding in there, and another one over there. And there's several more under here that you can't see. And next to that is the red Curie, and there's one of the red Curie squash. There's another one hiding under this leaf here. I don't know if I can see it. There it is. And these plants have really spread out. This gives an idea of how huge the blooms are on the Curies. There are 2 more red Curie squash developing down here. And another one over here. And this plant on the end is the cushaw, and there are a number of cushaw squash forming. There's one there that is developing well. There's another one right down here that's starting to develop. But these plants here will take over this entire bed of wood chips by the time their plants are mature and the fruit are ready to harvest. We're on the other end of the beds now. These are the leeks, and it gives you an idea of how big these plants are. And those leeks are absolutely delicious. So we'll walk through the arbor on the way out and back towards this pear tree. Has been collapsing from the weight of the pear and I'm not sure if it's going to survive. If we got a windstorm, it would break off most of those branches. But it's full of pear, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot of them to can out of here this fall for the limbs that don't get broken out. Every limb is full of pears. This 40-year-old pear tree, and it's still producing a lot of pears. So that's pretty much the garden, both the main garden and the north garden. And I'll walk out for just a moment to that area you can see there. That's our butterfly garden. This is the butterfly garden. It's been here for a number of years, about 10 years now, and it's turned into mostly a wildflower patch. You can see a lot of sneezeweed, a lot of prairie coneflower in here, a lot of milkweed, and there are some monarch caterpillars in here, which are very difficult to find. But I'll see if I can find one as I walk around. But the milkweed are already setting their pods, and so they'll be multiplying for next year. There are some purple coneflower blooming. Every plant that's in here is a native wildflower. There's no annuals in this butterfly garden at all. It's all perennial wildflowers. There's a bachelor button, some clover that's snuck in here. There's a prairie coneflower. Here's a butterfly on the echinacea. I'll see if I can get a picture of it. So enjoying that coneflower, getting some nectar and pollen off of there. A lot of the coneflower have gone to seed, as you can see from the seed pods here. These plants on the end will probably be taken out. Those are goldenrod, and they become very invasive. And usually I take them out before they can go to seed and multiply. So that's pretty much the conclusion of our monarch waste station, as it was called when it was planted. We now just consider it a butterfly garden. Here's a beautiful coneflower, or prairie flower. So that pretty much concludes the late August garden tour. That things are developing and getting ready for winter, and we'll walk back towards the main gardens again, go past the compost bins, and there's some sunflowers that came up volunteer next to the compost bin, and I allowed them to continue growing there. They're absolutely beautiful flowers, and they love to attract bees and pollinators to them. And this is our main garden beds. The tomato trees, as my wife calls them, they're on 8-foot tall tomato cages and full of tomatoes. Again, I'll show you the peppers hanging in these pepper bushes here. It's absolutely amazing. These pepper bushes are a little over 3 feet tall, which is quite tall for peppers, whether they're bell peppers or banana peppers. They're all quite tall. These banana peppers are super sweet. I love to eat them just right out of the garden. They're so delicious. And as you can see, there's still a lot of bell peppers to be harvested. And a lot of jalapenos as well. And I'll part with another picture of the beautiful dinosaur kale. And that will conclude our late summer garden tour. Thanks for watching.